Bullet journaling is my favorite way to clean out my chaotic mind. It allows me to take what's inside my brain and lay it all out on paper in a quick and organized way so that I don't forget anything important, but my brain can rest a bit easier knowing the details are safely stored somewhere. The bullet journal method is a productivity system of bulleted note-taking. Over time, it's been adapted and enhanced in really neat ways where it's not only an outlet for productivity, but for creativity as well. Bullet journaling is an art form. People get so artistic making elaborate spreads using markers, washi tapes, and stickers. I myself am an artist. I love watching people make the artistic, decorative spreads online. I just don't make them myself because the way I like to use a journal is for organization of my brain, not for creative expression. If you're looking to get into bullet journaling but feel overwhelmed by where to start, if you like the idea of tracking and organizing your life, but you don't feel you have the creativity for artistic spreads, or if you want to simplify your current bullet journaling practice so that you actually come back to use your journal, I'm making this video just for you. My name's Elsa. I spent 6 years living in a 13-foot trailer with my husband Barron, saving all of our money to later buy 40 acres of raw land in the mountains and build our own off-grid house with our very own hands. During our travels, I wanted a way to document all the places we went and people we met. I was also really interested in learning about the health of my body and cycle. As an avid daily journaler for the last decade, I found bullet journaling and used it as a way to track and organize all the details of my life. What you need to get started is a journal and a pen. Don't think too hard about this. Any journal and any pen will work. Over the years, I've come to find that my favorite journal is a Dingbat's dotted journal. I like the paper thickness and the amount of dots on a page, so I keep buying them. But I've used many different kinds. I do not have a favorite pen. I usually use a Uniball brand pen of some sort, and I'll use a ruler if I have one laying around, but typically it's just pen and paper for me. First, let's touch on the bullet journaling method by Ryder Carroll. If you already know what this is, feel free to skip ahead to the next chapter of the video. My symbols slightly differ from Ryder's, but the concept is still the same. I use a dot for a task, a circle for an event, a dash for a note, arrows if I've moved the task backward or forward, an X for complete, a strike through for delete, an exclamation for important things, a triangle for memories, and a star for birthdays. Let's put that into practice so you can see what it looks like. Let's say today is Barron's birthday. At the bottom of the calendar day, I'll put a star and then Barron's name. That means it's his birthday. I'll use a circle for the event of Barron's birthday party at 6 p.m. I use a dot for my tasks of finishing the birthday cake, wrapping his present, and baking cookies. I remember that Barron's mom was going to bring cookies, so I make a task to call her with a note that reminds me I'm calling about cookies. And I put an exclamation next to the task because it's important. My last task is to respond to emails, but since it's the most important day of the year, I use an arrow to migrate that task to tomorrow. Now I go back through my tasks and I use an X to cross off which ones I've completed and strike through the task of making cookies since I no longer need to do it. Okay, let's now take a look at how I set up a fresh bullet journal at the beginning of the year. I do tend to go through about one journal a year, but if you do more or less, you could put a starting date here and then an end date whenever the journal is complete. My next two spreads are a yearly calendar and a list of birthdays. I put these spreads at the very start of every journal every year because I refer back to these pages each month when I create my new monthly calendars. I recommend putting whatever is most important to you at the beginning of your journal like this so that it's easy to refer back throughout the year. On the next two pages, I add a large year-at-a-glance calendar. This is so I can schedule events way in advance before I've made that month's calendar spread. Things like summer weddings, holiday plans, things I'd otherwise forget if I didn't immediately take it out of my brain and put it on paper. As for yearly spreads, this is where I typically stop. That's all I find that I need in a journal. A yearly spread is one that you create once and fill out throughout the year. A monthly spread is created monthly and filled out during that specific month. And weekly and daily spreads follow the same premise. I suggest you take a bit of time to figure out why you want to bullet journal. Create a little list for yourself for what you want to track or how you want to plan your life, and get online to find some spreads that resonate with your style. Decide whether or not it's something you want documented on one page for the entire year or something you want to repeat. My favorite journaler online is Jashi Koren, who has made more spread ideas than I have ever seen. She's always coming out with new videos and uses a plethora of styles, both minimal and creative, to fit any kind of format of journaling you're into. For the first time ever, I decided to add something new to the front of my journal that I had in a prompted journal that I bought last year. It's a list of wants. This is not only material wants, like a new sweater or a pair of jeans, but goals that I want to accomplish, desires that I have, anything that I wish to call into my life. Throughout the year last year, I would go back to that journal and cross off the things that I acquired or achieved, and I really enjoyed feeling the accomplishment, as well as the reminder to continue working toward my goals. Only problem was that spread was in an entirely different journal that I very rarely picked up, so this year I wanted it front and center in an attempt to refer back to the list regularly. This next spread is also a first in the beginning of my journal, as I usually put it in the back at the end of the year. This spread is from yearcompass.com. It's a free download of detailed prompts to help you review the past year and goal set for the upcoming year. I've been doing it every year since 2016, and it's a blast to go back in time to see what my goals used to be and how they've adapted over time. You can go to the site to download a free PDF and print it out as a booklet, but I just like to write the prompts into my journal. First page is for major events from the past year. I've split mine up into 12 sections so I can get a few highlights from each month. On the next page, the prompt says, what aspects were the most important to you in the following areas last year? What was significant? The categories are personal life and family, work, belongings, hobbies, community, etc. It's a nice overview of how things felt over the past year. Next 3 pages, we get into some prompted reflection questions like, what was the wisest decision I made? The biggest lesson I learned, biggest risk, biggest surprise, most important thing I did for others, and biggest thing I completed. I look forward to filling these prompts out every year because a year is a long span of time to live a life, and a lot goes on that we often tend to miss without reflections like these. It's a way to document my growth as a human being. But it's not even that I have to grow each year, though inevitably I think we all do. I just like to unfold some of my biggest steps from the year and observe them because I think that it's fun. On this page of 2024, we wrap up with closing sentiments, goodbyes, and final reflections. I usually set aside 2 mornings for this year compass review, and I do the last year in one day and then the year ahead in another day because it takes me a good hour to fill each one out. The year ahead prompts are fairly similar to the year in review prompts, but coming at it with more goal setting instead of reflecting. Lots of I will prompts to help set you up for an amazing year ahead. Like my 300 wants spread, I want to regularly look back at this throughout the year to remind myself of my goals and see if I'm still on track. We end it all with a word of the year and final wishes for the year ahead. Now we get into my monthly spreads. They are the same every month. First is a small monthly calendar at a glance. This is the time when I flip back to those first 2 pages in my journal to look at the month's calendar so I don't have to open up my phone to do it. I mark birthdays in the lower left corner and the new moon and full moon in the upper left corner. When we were traveling, I'd use this spread to document where we were at any given time, and now I use it to mark visitors that come and stay with us and how long they've stayed. The next 2 pages are my large monthly spread, and this is where I use the bullet journaling system that I showed earlier. For a little bit in the beginning, I used larger weekly spreads where 1 week would fill up 1 whole page, but I could never schedule enough stuff, and I always had way too much unused space. Plus, I prefer to see my entire month and everything I have to do all at once. Some of my old monthly spreads that people really liked were my trackers. At the time I was doing these, I was just getting to know my body through cycle tracking, learning about my health and diet, and seeing how stress and sleep impacted my daily moods and productivity. This is all that tracker is. A couple of lines with the days of the month at the bottom, and all the things you want to track on the left-hand side. It's an awesome, simple tracker for anything. Then above that, I tracked my sleep, stress, and mood. Sleep, I wanted to be as high as possible using the numbers as hours slept. Stress as low as possible on a scale of 1 to 10, and mood I wanted as high as possible on a scale of 1 to 10. This was super cool for me at the time because I learned that big stress spikes with low mood tended to correlate with little sleep. Seems kind of crazy now to think that this was revolutionary for me at the time, but it was because I was learning myself. Now I know myself. At least better than I ever have. And I know what works for my mind and body. I also learned so much about my health by cycle tracking each month. It's something I think every woman should do and every man should understand. For peace on earth. I'll leave a link right here up in the corner of the screen to my last bullet journaling video for you to learn more about that and how I used my bullet journal as a whole when I was really heavy into life tracking. I also used to always do a gratitude page. I loved it, but over time I kept finding myself forgetting to fill it out. If ever there is something that I want to add to my monthly spreads, I do. If I use it, I'll add it again, and if I don't, I'll take it out the next month. I used to add more photos to my journals too, using my HP Sprocket printer, but now I use it to print book covers for my reading journal. Yes, I started a reading journal this year because I decided I want to be a book girl in 2024. This journal is also very minimalist, and if you'd like to see how I create it, I would love to show you as we enter into 2025 so that you can create your own. After my super basic monthly spreads, I start daily journaling. When I started bullet journaling, I had one book for bullet journaling and one book for daily journaling, but I didn't like carrying around two journals all the time. Because my monthly spreads stay the same each month, I can fill them out at the beginning of the month and use as much space for daily journaling as I want after that. Daily journaling is the bulk of my journals each year. I write about the world, about my world, I vent, I celebrate. Journaling is like writing to a friend who does nothing but listen. I love it. For some, creating the spreads in a bullet journal is the best part of the process, but for me, it's using the journal that is my favorite part. I always journal in the morning when no one is awake but me. I make myself a delicious drink, get cozy beneath blankets, or sit outside in the warm sun. I find the easiest way to make a journaling practice a habit is to keep your journal somewhere where you constantly see it. I keep mine simple so that it's simple to fill out, but your taste might be different. Pick up a journal and find out what works for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I have a full playlist of several of my bullet journaling videos from over the years if you want to check those out. And we also sell a book called Normal to Nomad that Barron wrote of all of our travels in our little 13-foot trailer. Pick up a copy at normal2nomad.com, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!